This is the stump model. This board's progressed a lot in the last few years. We started doing the stump quite a while ago as a shorter, wider short board for either big guys wanting to ride a 6'2", or for just small surf, because you get a lot of straighter outline in the tail with the wide block, which generates speed really quick off the mark. As all these other new models came in, and Dane Reynolds put the world on ear with this short board, short wide. More the Dane Reynolds sort of theory instead of the Kelly Slater no round nose on this. This board's progressed to the point now where it is, where we're just incredibly happy with it. This particular model, the stump, is designed for 1 foot to 4 foot waves. It's kind of replaced the fish, really, generally. We still make a lot of fish boards and UFSOs and mod quads and all those different round nose boards, but guys just really like how you can go back and forth from your regular short board to this one. Generally, on this particular model, it's the nose rocker is lowered once again, so it paddles really easily. You'll ride this board a good 3/4 of an inch wider than your normal board, maybe even an inch, depending on how crazy you want to go. The tail area there's a lot of tail area. It's not out of control in width. For example, I believe this one is this is a 19 wide 6'1". So this guy would normally ride a 6'3", probably 18 5/8, 18 3/4. And the tail would be about 14 1/4, 14 3/16, which on his normal shortboard would be right at the 14 mark. With this extra straight through here, you get just a lot of drive. The concave is mid on this with a nice big double through here to keep this big area loose. It's got a similar shortboard tail rocker, so you really need to keep plenty of tail rocker in it, because you flatten it out with the extra concave and you're getting so much drive from the width, so you want to be able to turn out of the top, which it does quite well. The stump model it's kind of this and the bump stump, which is a similar outline. It's just got a slight bump in the outline, similar to the old school Merrick's. It just loosens it up a little bit, but guys are really liking the drive out of these. This particular one is a custom again, like most of them. And this board these things fly. These things are awesome in average Australian, Californian, Japanese, European beach break. It's probably, for your average day, average guy, it's probably the most versatile board in our range. Okay, this is a third version of our stump model. Like as you can see, the stump model's really evolved. This is a stump swallowtail. This is my personal board. I'm going down the coast today, all the way to Wollongong from here at Lennox Head, and I'll be surfing a wide variety of conditions. This model, I could pretty much, if you're going to bring one board and the surf's not 8 feet, this is what you want to travel with. This board just goes awesome. It was actually made for my airbrusher Brett, who did a nice fancy spray on it for himself. But it just, goes unreal. I ride, this board's a 5'10" by 18 3/4 by 2 1/4, so it's a little bit shorter, a bit wider than what I normally ride, but it's kind of becoming my normal board. The swallowtail, it's a fairly wide block swallow. It's probably 5 3/4, almost 6 inches at the block. The tail's about 14 1/4, but it holds in remarkably well. It's so easy to catch waves because the entry is it's a buttery entry. You feel like you're riding a board 5 inches longer when you're paddling into it. As soon as you get up, they're just electric. The swallowtail, it's just another variety of the bottoms. It's kind of a split between the squash and the roundtail. Roundtail traditionally has been my favorite design, but I just find it's a really versatile design. You can, this thing can grovel pretty mad, and yet it'll still, like when the Lennox is 4 foot, I jump on it, and I've had some epic surfs out there on it. Really holds out of the top, and you can get really hard on rail and just bring it around really tight. Button hook turns really good, which is kind of remarkable considering it's a pretty wide board, but it's got a ton of curve, a different bend in the outline than the other two stumps. It bends right around the fins and then straightens out a bit back in the tail, and that just sort of changes your turning axis a little bit, where you get your point of maneuverability. This board's a pretty rad little model, and I'll be giving it another thrashing over the next week on the coast, traveling between here and Sydney. This is the stump, a stump round tail model, which is the stump 2 actually. It's got a little different rocker configuration. More of a similar entry to our Hyper, but it's got a little bit flatter through the guts with just a nice bend out the tail. A little bit of a different concave. The double's a little bit more pronounced. This particular one, it's other than that, it's pretty similar to our stump model. It's for 1 to 4 feet. Just goes awesome in small waves. Just super rad in small waves. We're doing them with the 5-fin setup, which you don't ride with 5 fins. You can either ride as a quad or a thruster. It took a zillion hours of research to get this fin configuration right. When everyone first started coming out with quad 5 thruster combos, I felt it was bullshit because there's no way back then where everyone was placing their quads compared to where you place your thruster setups that you could work them out so they worked correctly. But after a ton of research and development, we've got it now where it legitimately works as a quad or as a thruster. The round tail with tons of area just gives the whole board a lot of just curve everywhere. You've got a low entry rocker, a little bit lower tail rocker than you would with a short board, but it still has a nice bend off the tail, or with a Hyper model. Edges are super hard to hear, but end a little bit quicker because you're riding the board. You ride about, like if you ride a 6.1 or a 6.0 short board, you would ride about a 5.9, 5.10 of these, the biggest, maybe 2 to 3 inches shorter, 1/2 inch to 3/4 inches wider. The tail's quite wide at 12, but the round tail just gives it a ton of curve back there. Yeah, these boards are just incredible in small waves, and a lot of guys now are getting really addicted to how easy they catch waves, and they're pushing them right up into the 4 or 5 foot range. Point surf, beach breaks, whatever. You can really change it up by using the quad or the thruster setup. It's a really well-rounded, versatile one board. If you live in an area that doesn't get good that often, but does get good, you ride your quad setup in the beaches, and then boom, here comes the point. It's got some slabs. Throw your thruster setup in there, the same one you would use in your Hyper model, and it'll blow you away how good they'll go. The round tail's probably even a little bit more versatile than the big wide squash stump model, in that you can ride it in a much more a variety of wave conditions, and it'll still really perform. The squash tail ones are really focused on that 1 to 3 foot range, but if you live somewhere, like I said, that doesn't get good that often, but does get good, and you only have one board, this would be the one board to have.